Life is good when life is simple. Sounds easy enough, right? Let's all go for that, except it's a little different when you're in a foxhole and there's mortars falling all around you and you're in Afghanistan and all you want to do is get you and your team home. See, there's things we don't understand and that we need to learn, and you're going to when you watch this program. I'm excited to introduce to you current Marine Reserve Major James Collins. Next on Purpose Under Pressure. Is on. Let's get cooking. This is Purpose Under Pressure. It's a podcast about people who swing their feet out of bed every single morning on purpose, just like we all do. But what you do when the storms rise, the pressures come that try to knock you off your path. It's an important thing. We all have to deal with it almost on a daily basis. And that's what we're talking about today and every day on Purpose Under Pressure. If you like this show, and I'm glad you're here listening and watching now, let a friend know. Maybe like us on the platform of your choice. Follow us, subscribe, tell a friend, tell your mom that this is the way you spend your time. I like when people share this. I like when other people get to find it and listen as well. And that's how we'll kind of keep things going. So I appreciate your support. As far as that goes, Purpose Under Pressure is brought to you by Sandler by the Ruby Group. They are serving sales professionals nationwide from their Akron and Columbus, Ohio locations. They're also in Jacksonville, Florida. They've been here since the beginning with Purpose Under Pressure, and I'm thrilled to welcome them as our partners. They are one of the highest performing Sandler sales team affiliates in the nation. That's not saying nothing because there are a lot of folks out there doing what Sandler does, but the Ruby Group does it best. Check them out online at therubygroup.sandler.com. I am excited about the show today because I've been looking forward to this ever since I kind of started Purpose Under Pressure. So a little bit of story here is I was spending some time up in Medina and Brunswick, and I was trying to meet some new people and build some business and doing some things. And I ran into the Chamber of Commerce, and the lady at the Chamber of Commerce named Stephanie, she said, I don't know who you need to meet, but I do know you need to meet James Collins. I said, really? Okay. James Collins. This is probably 3 years ago. I'll meet James Collins. I send a note to James Collins. He writes back, I'd love to, but right now I'm in Afghanistan or something like that. I'm overseas, and because James is a Marine and he's fighting for our country. And it took us forever to get to know each other. We finally got to meet each other, and we got along like a house on fire. And I'm excited to introduce you, my listeners and viewers, to James Collins. James is a current major in the United States Marine Reserve, prior active duty for 6 years. He does have a tour in Afghanistan, which I do hope we can talk about today. More importantly, and at least as importantly, is the founder and president of Semper Fidelis Financial. It's a full-service wealth management tax service company based in Brunswick. I watched him open this business. I watched him go through the things that he needed to do to open this business. He's killing it. He's served our country. James Collins, welcome to Purpose Under Pressure.
Hey, Brian, thanks for having me, man. You make it sound, you put us on a pedestal there a little bit, but we're still earning our way. So, we thank you for having us and giving us this opportunity to chat a little bit. And it sounds like we're going to go down some rabbit holes of a few of my very favorite or most what I'm most passionate about parts of my life or what made me or rounded me out or roughed up my edges the way they are at this point. Mm-hmm. So I enjoy that. And, I'm glad you just came out and asked the question, hey, could we talk about your experience in your tour? And I don't think enough people are comfortable asking that question because, quite frankly, there's a lot of times that we do enjoy chatting about it. And I think kind of on my hunt for continuing to find that purpose, I'm finding that a lot of folks that might have similar experiences to myself, we do get some value out of reminiscing some of the cool stories that are fun or exciting or kind of made those marks in our milestone points in our lives.
James, let me ask you about that. I'd never thought of it that way. I'm so appreciative. I've had a few military folks on my show. Every single one of them is a great show because you folks have lived things that most of us can never even understand, and you have this level of discipline and experience that you put to work every day, and it's just amazing. People say thank you for your service. It's almost like it's almost like perfunctory. It feels perfunctory. It's never enough, but we don't know what else to say. How should people feel more comfortable talking to former or current military without feeling like we're stepping on toes? What is that an issue? I never really thought of it before, but I also didn't know what else to say.
You know what? And it goes many different ways. I think everybody knows it's genuine when they receive it. I got to tell you, America is not short on reaching out and helping or providing assistance or showing gratitude to our service members at this point. It's a little bit of a perception only because that's been a recent change in history, whereas the first two major wars are wars that we still or close to us because we knew people that participated, such as World War II and the Korea or in the Vietnam War, more specifically the Korean War and then the Vietnam War. The military had a different perspective. People had a different perspective or a different lens on how they viewed the military during those eras across the country. So the benefits, the country's ability to support veterans at that time, or even understanding. I mean, we were so young. So those veterans went through a lot of hardship. And I think that's where the baseline of starting to appreciate what they had actually done and then try to essentially make up for some of the mistreatment that occurred. It really flipped a switch in some of these the past few decades. Really? And maybe the younger generations at this point, you see a lot of the thank you for your service. It's never wrong to say that. No. I thought people might have offended at first because I typically turn around and I say, well, thank you for paying your taxes. And at first it doesn't really hit folks, but you heard me mention one time, this is all a circle. The way this whole thing works across the U.S. is because it's a circle of democracy, and where my service is something you're appreciated for, but your tax dollars are paying me a lot of benefits for that service. So it's a earn and a reward system, and then in turn you're getting protection. But at the same time, you're electing the politicians, right? And then our politicians are advising the president, who's the commander in chief, who is my military boss, who's also employing me to go out and then recruit your son who's sitting at your kitchen table. So we're all connected in this circle, where it be it dollars or service. And sometimes people forget that the reason our military is so valuable is because of those dollars of the people in our economy that are electing the officials and paying the taxes.
Yeah. Right? And so when we thank you for your service, because at least for me, I never joined the military because I didn't think I could cut it. I didn't think it was for me. And I imagine a lot of people think that too. I think I might have been afraid. I think I might have been not sure. I wasn't recruited. It was just, my dad was in it. I just never had an opportunity to serve. And yet you folks are out there doing it. And I see what you're doing and I read about doing it. And when I say thank you, it's almost like I wish I could have done more, but thank you for everything that you're doing. So there's a little bit of personal guilt, is it?
Because this country, but you got to get over that. Yeah, it is, and you got to get over that. You got to recognize your part. That's why I say that. I mean it back, and that's why hey, thank you, because the problem that military or veterans are dealing with today isn't that the support's not there; it's that they don't know how to attain it. There's too many actually spoons in the pot because there's too many contractors bidding for the next way to help the next veteran. And then when we support all of those, there's no simple process at this point. So there's loans, there's healthcare, there's job assistance, there's education. And I'll be honest, I'm a product of so much of it. You say like, hey, you didn't serve. I had the opportunity to serve. It worked out in my life. The timing, the door opened up where God was kind of showcasing to me that I needed to do something to progress in life. And I needed to do something different than what I was currently doing. And he didn't have me tied down to any obligations or other opportunities that were quite as attractive. And so when you're single and 22, graduating with an undergraduate degree, and you're like, who's going to pay for my next stint of fun, right? That was an opportunity. And for me, it started because I realized I wanted to shape up and I wanted to grow professionally and I wanted somebody to pay for a master's degree. And so when I told my mom that I was going to start talking to the military, her response was, oh, you got to talk to the Marines. I love this recruiter I know from my school. It's just awesome. And I'm like, Mom, I'm serious about the military thing because I think there's opportunity. But I said, I'm not serious enough to join the Marine Corps. So let's just pause that. And then lo and behold, I was, probably a week later, I was in tears talking to a guy in dress blues in my living room at college. And, it's all history since. So
what were you crying about? What were the tears about?
He was a good recruiter. He hit my purpose. He was going to help me find a purpose. That's what I was missing at the time. Still missing, you're still looking for it. It's just, there's more clarity around the purpose I'm going after,
That's the question I was next going to ask. I love that we get along so well. I love that you kind of led me to it. Rather than me just ask what your purpose is, I'm interested in if your human purpose has changed from the time you went into the Marines to now. A lot of times folks' purpose is I think purpose is God-given. It's just we have to discover it. So, do you feel like it's different now than it was when you went into the Marines?
I feel like I'm pursuing it entirely different, 180 degrees different, quite frankly. I don't think I was not pursuing it before. And it's not that I'm going in an opposite direction this time. So I can't say or whatever the maximum opposite I could be.
You're taking a different trail towards it.
Taking a different trail.
Yep.
I think the purpose is the same. I don't think I've found it yet.
You haven't reached it.
I haven't reached it, but it's. I think it's becoming clearer.
What is it? What
it's
is it?
bigger than me. I'm still itching for it. I wake up every day, hoping that the pendulum's moved a little bit more towards it. It's not. I mean, there's all kinds of goals people can set, and there's awesome goals. There's goals with dollar signs. There's goals with time stamps. There's goals with milestones. My purpose has a little bit of all that tied into it. That's kind of guiding it, and it's my guardrails along that purpose. But man, at the end of the day, I know God's still hanging on to it, and I have probably lived this last 20 years more so than any time in my life. Well, because I was a kid at first, and I didn't know it. But it's just, it's faith. I'm taking a faith approach. God, I've got a great relationship with Jesus Christ, one that I feel like that it can resonate thoughts, ideas, and a focus or a direction within my conscious.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we have conversations that give me clarity and the direction that ultimately is not just for me, but for everybody, whether it be it's the community, whether it's my family, whether it's my team members. I don't know what it is yet, Brian. I do feel like because of milestones that or trademark, I guess, marks in my history, the way things have worked out, I do think there's a God-given purpose.
Yes.
And I do feel more in line with it than I ever have in life. And that's given me a lot of comfort at this point, or maybe a little more peace. But at the same time, it's caused such an itch of adrenaline or attraction because I'm finally getting some clarity on this purpose that it's driving me crazy. It's putting more on my plate because, it's opening doors. The opportunities just seem so clear that I can't pass them up. So God's kind of getting his chuckle back right now because of all the time I sat back and wondered, if, and he was just kept repeating, I told you faith from day one, that's the only way you get through this world. And so once I just started having blind faith, man, I just keep, as long as he stays on that kind of focal point, that purpose is finding its way. And I feel like more people are being impacted, and I'm getting rewarded from it, to be honest with you.
That sounds like a purpose right there, to follow God's plan and to be on it. Not everybody has the strength or the courage to do that. People get mad at me on the show quite often because I find the soft spots and I dig a little bit. So I hope you don't mind. I want to dig at something. Yeah, you mean to tell me that you did what you were doing, and I'd like to talk more about it, in Afghanistan, and there had to be some hard times, without a purpose, without knowing what your purpose is?
That was probably easier. Shoot.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
How can that be?
Well, by the time you get to Afghanistan, it's a different, you've realized the purpose is 100% different already than when you signed up. Yeah. So that purpose, that's why I'm.
Is it almost a daily purpose? It's like, I got a job to do.
No, because when you join, you're joining because there's something yearning inside. There's a higher calling, and there's an interest, and there's a fear, and there's an adrenaline, concern. So there's all kinds of reasons to join. going to Afghanistan, your purpose becomes more so what's your lifeline, and your lifeline's the people around you. So there's a temporary pause in that bigger picture purpose into what kind of what you said is the daily. You're more inclined to the now, and that purpose is more so. You know, I was 25, I think, when I went to Afghanistan, and I think I had 35 Marines that I was directly taken into, on missions daily, and then I had 60 submarines kind of scattered throughout the battlefield. You find your purpose real quick when you're in that situation in those lives, and you've already went through the letters in your head of how you write that letter home, because that's where you're at. You're living behind enemy lines. We were living in a mud hut. I should call it that, but I don't know what else it was. It was a farm we'd taken over from local Afghanis, and we built our kind of forward operating position out of that. And then so you're surviving. So when you're in survival mode, all you know is there's a driver. That purpose is kind of far from unattainable. This is now a focal point in achieving that bigger purpose that is going to mold. You're going to have more clarity of that purpose when you come out of it, because it's a piece of time. But when you're there, it's a different mindset. And that's what's probably been the hardest coming into the civilian side. I mean, the operations are so much the same because of the way you respond, the way you're directing, the way you're guiding, the thinking through process. I think we talked about the OODA loop, the observe, the orient, the act, to decide. Your decision-making ability when you're living in theater, we call it, it just has to be elevated. And so that becomes kind of a rush. So it's an excitement. There's a desire to get back in that atmosphere when we're on this side of the table kind of talking about it. So when you ask, larger purpose, then you're just blinded, man, because the short term is that group around you. And I'll tell you, that group of 30 around me was probably all that purpose was. And they were so good that, I mean, your purpose was all about having fun and moving the cause along. I mean, it was kind of an integral moment when we were there because we were starting to downsize. We started militarizing certain areas of Afghanistan, and my unit had gotten kind of to the point where we were kind of the preferred outlet to folks to call, because we were out in the middle of the communities, living amongst the local nationals, and then we were on the road the most because we were a larger system. We were motor transportation Marines, so we drove all the trucks and managed all the trucks. Well, at that point in Afghanistan, 2012, 2013, there was a lot of turnover that we were wanting that Afghanistan Army to start kind of picking up the slack. So we were in more of a training mode. But as you can imagine, the logistics, whether you're going in gunfights every day or facilitating just security perimeter, logistics have to happen. People need food, people need ammo, band-aids, bullets, transportation of bad guys, whatever it may be. So we were most active. We were kind of the highlight in country at that time. And that really benefited. This is where God. So again, when I joined the Marine, when I got assigned my MOS, Brian, I cried because I was going to be a logistician, and I signed up to be a gunfighter. I thought I didn't get picked for the team, and that's just how the Marine Corps works. Lo and behold, did I not know, unbeknownst to me, but going through training later on when we go on and progress to get our job skills, if I would have gotten the job I wanted, infantry, I would have ended up in a lot of yellow jacket pits. It's just the nature of that training course. And just so happened I was in logistics school at the time. Well, right after logistics school, we found out I was allergic to bee stings and wouldn't have survived. Oh. And so, I didn't go through infantry. But then fast forward, I got assigned to an infantry unit. So I was still amongst the team that I was trying to be with. And, then God gave me the keys to running the motor transport section, which fast forward 3 years later, when we thought that was probably going to not be the most fun action-packed game, motor transport was the only guys doing missions by the time we were in Afghanistan. And it just came around. So we got the experience. And that's what ended up happening there is that we were active and on it all the time. And your purpose is getting those guys home.
Getting those guys home. And that's what I want to follow up with next. You're the founder and president of Semper Fidelis Financial. And so you're building a team and you're doing things for your customers. And in small business, it's not about you, it's about everyone else.
Right.
But without you, there's no head at the company to run things. I want to go back to Afghanistan a little bit. And I'm interested in your point of view on that. It's about your team. And I know, you've never said this, but I know you would gladly give your life for any of them. Absolutely. At the same time, without you, there's no one to lead. And so how do you, in business and then, how do you make sure that things go forward safely, strongly, smartly, and still make the sacrifices you need?
Get your pulse on it.
Yeah.
Well, there's kind of probably, I would say, three kind of key ingredients there to kind of keep that all going. And then my benefit was that your tax dollars paid for me to get OJT and learn how to do it, right? That was as a small unit leader in the Marines. That's what's so cool about the opportunities for the military folks is how young you're thrust into these levels of responsibility. So for me, that same team mentality here or there, whether it was Marines or it's folks on my staff, I know them for who they are. So what I learned later on in leadership, and it was actually when I was a reservist, I was better at it. On active duty, when we were in the fleet out there, when you go through the events we went through, there was going to be a bond that pulled the two of you together, and so you could lead them, and you knew them thoroughly because of the training we ultimately went through before we got there. Mm-hmm. The way that pays out here, and then what I realized in the reserves is you gotta start appreciating the individual for what matters to them. And I think that's just a different lens I put on my management style. As young James Collins would have, or active duty James Collins would have felt like no matter what the way was, my way was how we were ultimately going to do it to get there. And I think mature James Collins now, after going through those experiences, has realized like there is a way to get them to do what you need them to do with a better attitude, with more compassion, more professionalism. And it's just by understanding, what's the best way to communicate to them? What is the best way to instruct them? And that comes with knowing your people. So I think that only happens with one-on-one. And whether I was leading 30 Marines or 250 some odd Marines was one of my biggest units, I knew every one of them. And I didn't, what I had to understand really early on, what's really helping me here is I started things in a cycle, 3-phase cycle, because that's how long I would do a tour in the military. And in phase one, I think when a leader comes in, often they want to change everything or put their touch on it. And I think you can't. You got to evaluate for a period, number one, but number two, you got to learn
some of the
how to
past things that were done too. Like not everything that everyone that did before you is wrong. People try to change everything like that. Okay.
You can't change it.
No.
But you got to learn it, which means your first year, you got to outwork everybody. You're going to be there first, be the last to leave. You're not going to know it at the end of the day. I was the motor T officer of the year in 2012 for the Marine Corps. I still don't know how to change a truck tire on a Humvee. But my troops knew that if we wanted to inspect, if they were going to be under trucks, they needed to have a slide roller beside them, because if I saw them under the truck, I want to get under and talk to them. When I was under the truck, I would ask them about grease points for 5 minutes, but then I'd ask them for 30 minutes about grandma back on the farm. That interest alone, Brian, saved my life all through Afghanistan. We did 100 missions, drove 2,000 miles, 17 gunfights, and we didn't have one single casualty. One vehicle didn't even. The biggest thing got hurt. I think we schwacked somebody with a mine roller one time, maybe broke a mirror on it. But God was with us, and we were good. But we were good because we cared about each other, and we cared about each other because we knew each other. So I think that's how, if you lead through knowing who you're leading, they take care of you.
Knowing who you're leading by knowing who you're leading.
For sure.
One of the biggest problems we have as managers and leaders is sometimes we're not focusing on leading and we end up doing it for our sales team. How do we coach our people to help them figure out what self-limiting belief that they have that's holding them back from achieving the levels of success that they know they're capable of? Help them flush out what we call their own head trash, that thing that's holding them back. So work with your team, lead by example, watch your team achieve greater levels of success, and watch your team grow, and more importantly, watch your company and your business grow.
So that's why you're a great business owner. That's why you are a great major in the Marines. I'm interested now in taking that one step further. At Semper Fidelis, you also have customers. And what makes you... So there's a financial advisor, a tax guy on every corner, maybe
Right.
3 or 5 of them.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. Oh yeah.
And I'm not asking you to say that you're better than them. I'm asking you to tell me what your experience in the military, what that has done to make you great at what you do, and why a customer might really appreciate working with you. This isn't an ad, but I'm interested in why they might want to work with you because of your experience. What do you bring to the table because of what you've been through?
Sure. No, that's a great question. I don't know if I've ever thought of it through this lens, but this might lead me to look into it more. I do think at the end of the day, to your point, there's somebody that does what I do on every corner, and the same products, we all have access to the same thing.
That's right.
Ultimately. And so with that being said, cost is all the same across the board, right? So who's going to kind of compete on cost? I think where we add a value prop is ultimately, I believe that where there's a value added when it comes to working with a wealth advisor or professional in this business is during the bad times, quite frankly, because it's the good times that you throw a dart at the wall and everything makes money. Your 401k is going up. So you're used to doing this on your own. You own some good quality stocks. I mean, it doesn't take a financial advisor to say we should own Apple or something like that. And so in good times, everybody makes money. And that's where all of us on the street corner look the same. And what's interesting, what I like to pride myself on is that we don't lose clients only because we kind of continue delivering. And then we spend a lot of time educating and training. So you asked me about my staff. My most expensive bill right now is my time spent training. But it's important to me that if they're representing our brand, and then my goal is to grow them into being brand owners, that we are thinking alike or have like-minded similarities. For instance, I like to teach them when we're young that no matter what the situation is, or time constraint, or how panic mode something may seem, nobody's generally shooting at us. At this point, so far that I've been in the business 10 years, nobody's been shooting at me yet. And typically speaking, if nobody's shooting at you, we've got time to figure it out, right? And I think our perspective, that simple kind of foundation of nobody's shooting at us, then we keep that level head. And that just moves back to that OODA loop I mentioned. We've got experience in the chaotic environments. Well, when do people need a financial professional? When things are in chaos, when it's election season, we don't know when inflation's up, when taxes are going to change, when there's a pandemic. At this juncture, we've been through all of those and experiencing the financial markets. And then after coming home from combat, I got to say, you're just comfortable in chaos, right? And that partnership we're offering to clients, whether it be through taxes or through financial planning or through managing portfolio, is when your emotions are taking over. We've got the grounding or the tools to kind of spread our lens, get us to the bigger picture, and that's what we need in Afghanistan. We get bumped off of, you got mortars coming in from overhead. That'll throw you off real quick because you have no control at that point, right? But the more lack of control you showcase, the worse the situation gets. And I think the experience of knowing that taking control generally has a good outcome.
Wow. And knowing when to take control. I have this image of the mortars coming over. There's nothing you can do but wait, right? Is that the way that goes? Well, and then once they're down, then you're like, okay, I'm still here.
Well, the thing is, they come in so fast these days.
Gosh.
You're not really waiting. You hear them and they're exploding on you.
See, I can't even comprehend. We try to think. I think, wow, that must be really hard. James, I have no idea, right, what it's like over there. I don't mean to just jump back into Afghanistan, but how can I possibly understand?
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, you're waking up and you're putting your pants on. You're saying, "How do I move the ball forward? Right? How do we get forward?" And to me, forward over there was a goalpost. I'm not going to lie, I loved it to go back, but I was looking forward to coming home every day, right? And so every day you're moving towards that. Your goals get very basic, like we're going to shower once this week. That's a pretty simplified goal. But then the things that are taking up your mind, like the things that we have to worry about here on a daily battle rhythm, that's chaotic. Think about the kids getting to school and the lunch boxes and the homework and the job. I mean, over there, when your biggest thing you're looking forward to is after you get done with this mission that you've become comfortable with is it's shower day, or tomorrow we get real eggs as opposed to powdered. I mean, when life's simple, life's good, right?
When life's simple, life's good. Man, I love that frame of mind. I still think that there's no way someone can have that frame of mind unless they've gone through what you've gone through. But I just love that you're able to help us to understand that it's available out there to simplify and make life good. Hey, James, what's next for you? And I don't know. I know you don't know what the market's going to do. None of us do. And I know that you are taking things right. I'm thinking of Semper Fidelis Financial. I'm thinking of your customers. What's the pressure on the horizon that's going to come and try to knock you off your path a little bit?
Regulations. What's been interesting coming into this, and it was probably this is a perfect career for a Marine, because you're basically given a lot of training, a lot of toolbox, a lot of resources, and then you're given a mission, and nobody tells you exactly how to get that mission done. You go, and that's what
here's the constraints. Stay within the rules and go get it done.
Stay within the rules, go get it done. And that's what's been real awesome. And I'll tell you, since the reason we popped over here and started Semper Fidelis was just basically to take some of those restraints off, or really open the opportunity. And you probably teed that up way too good for me. You didn't realize, but man, part of this journey and finding this purpose has been it's a lot of getting to try all kinds of cool stuff out. In my previous life, I couldn't involve taxes, and when we started Semper Fidelis, the whole purpose behind it was so that we could get in on the tax side. And quite frankly, what we think is that's just a ton of value that's going to make us competitive in the future, because we can put that lens on. Now, what's unique about that is it's a huge investment, mainly of time, because I wasn't a tax guy in the first 10 years doing this. And when you're raising a family and running a business, it's the education part gets in the way. So we just dove in. We were inundated ourselves around 3 CPAs and 3 other staff accountants. So we figured the question was never far away, and got to work. And now 2 years in, the knowledge expansion has just been addictive. I mean, we're believers over here that education is so available. It's silly that if we're not continuously growing. We've got 2 of our staff that's pursuing licenses right now. One, a certification with taxes, and the other a certification with her security. So we're always pushing for education there. So I do think growth is where we go. We're growing. If I had to help more people, I mean, we're going to 3 new markets this summer and expanding into a little better presence in Cape Coral, Raleigh, North Carolina, and then my hometown. So it feels like we've got a product that is actually helping people right now. And the neat thing is it's going back into itself to keep growing and keep helping.
Last question. I'm telling myself last question because I could talk to you all day, but we've got to let people get back to their lives. Yeah. Why Semper Fidelis? Why'd you name your company Semper Fidelis?
We went around a rabbit hole a little bit. Nothing was just was sticking, and then this one came about because it really resonated with some of my principles. You may have heard me speak of the 5 F's are my foundation: faith, family, freedom, finances, and then fun. When I always like that term, and it's a term we use in the Marine Corps, Semper Fidelis, but really for what it means is why we went with it. Always faithful. And whether we're saying Semper Fidelis or always faithful, every person can hear that and it resonate meaningful to them in a different way, whether that's faithful in their finances, faithful in their spiritual life, faithful in the relationship, whatever it may be. We want the first thought to be that always faithful idea that if it's just help, that's why we can offer anything at this point, is we can always faithfully help you in finances.
Folks, this is James Collins. James, I tell you what, I've done, I don't even know how many, 4, 5, 6 of these Purpose Under Pressure podcasts. And before that, when I was doing this, a different show with former military. And I leave the show every single time thinking differently, thinking better, feeling energized, feeling a little more excited about the next thing to come. And I think I said to you earlier on that maybe it's guilt when I wonder, saying thank you. I really wish I could have. It might be a little bit of jealousy because, man, the things that you folks learn and get to come through with, and I know it doesn't, I get the sacrifice that you give. I think I understand the sacrifice.
I know you do.
But the benefit on the other side.
Oh, brother.
Man, I tell you,
it's what gives me chills.
You're good people. And I really appreciate what you do for our country. I really appreciate what all of you do for our country. And I'm kind of jealous for what you get back from your investment of your life. Does that make sense?
It absolutely makes sense. And I'll tell you, that all that tells me is that I finally vocalized it or verbalized it appropriately, because, Brian, I'm a coal miner from West Virginia. And I'm living a dream daily.
Yes, sir. And
it's because of the Marine Corps said, all right, we'll give you a chance.
That's James Collins. He is the CEO, president, founder, all-powerful leader of a great team of financial advisors and tax consultants at Semper Fidelis Financial. He's a major in the Marine Corps Reserve. Did I say that right? The United States Absolutely. Marine Reserve. And he's just a good dude. And James, if someone wanted to reach out to you and talk to you about anything we talked about today, and of course, the work that you do at Semper Fidelis, how would they find you?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Brian. Phone number is out there, 330-222-3393. Anybody, including myself from the staff, be happy to chat with you. We start with a discovery free consultation where we just chat and get to know each other. Welcome to go on our website, semperfidelisfinancial.com. You do have to spell it all out, but find out all about us, see the rest of our team, come and meet us, check out our blurbs of newsletters, and stay tuned. You asked what we're expanding. We got a health and wealth partnership that'll be launching in the near future. So lots of nutrition facts.
Good luck to you. And I know you'll do great. And I'm excited to see what happens next. That's James Collins. James is my guest on Purpose Under Pressure. It's brought to you by Sandler, by the Ruby Group. Sellers are under pressure to perform. Sandler helps you succeed on purpose. One last thing before I leave. I knew this would be an amazing conversation, and I know that it was. I am so grateful to you, James, for being a part of this show. This was fun. You're going to find all past episodes of Purpose Under Pressure, including those that involve the military. And I hope you'll reach out to and take a look at and listen to some of those. The stories are just as amazing, just as incredible, and the people behind them are just as phenomenal as well. So you can find those at brianmediastrategies.com/podcast and wherever you stream your podcast. We do this every week, maybe not always this well, but we will see you again when we do next time on Purpose.